everybody. Welcome to our next episode of Taught the Things podcast. And today we're going to be talking about a story. And this story, I know I said I'm only doing Scarborough stories this week, but I had to do this one. And this one is coming out of Neptune. And Neptune is like North York area, close to Yorkdale, around them area there. And this case has to do with a 3-year-old boy that we can say his real name is Elijah Marsh. The people in the neighborhood and who lived in the building said that Elijah was a shy, but he was a good natured, typical 3-year-old boy. Always grinning teeth, and people would always see him around the building, coming in and out with his auntie, them if his mom was dropping him off or whatever the case was. But he lived with his mom. Now, some reports say that he was being always left with people, always being left around with people to watch him. Even a news article said that a lot of the people in the building watched him or would always pick him up or call him over and be like, like always taking care of him in a way, even though he had his mom. And why I'm mentioning this is gonna make more sense later on in the podcast, as we get through some things. But on Wednesday, February 18th of 2015, his mom dropped him off once again. And where she went, we don't know, because some say she went to her friend. She says she went to work. And you're going to hear more about this once again later on in the podcast. So around 9:30 that night, later on in the evening, after he done bathe and eat and all those stuff, his grandma and I believe his auntie, I'm not sure. I think his auntie was there, which would have been his mom's sister and then his mom's mom. I think that's how it go. They put him to sleep, and that was the last time they seen him at 9:30. But that was the last time they seen him ever. So on February 19th in the early mornings, I would say between 4 and 4:20 a.m., video surveillance footage from the building lobby shows Elijah walking out of the building, opening up the front door of the lobby and walking out into the -20, feeling like -28 weather. And you have to listen to this now. He was only wearing a t-shirt, diapers, and boots. And this was so crazy. Like, who the hell put on the boots? I guess a 3-year-old, to put on your boots. But this whole story, bro, this was crazy when this came out, because he had to open up 5 doors and then he walked a couple hundred meters down down the road. Like, he was just walking outside in the middle of the night in the minus. You guys know, if you're in Canada, that February is the coldest month out of all of them, and then you're in just t-shirt and brief, and it's -28 outside. Imagine that. Imagine how cold you are in a jacket. So imagine you naked. Lord, bro. So it was about 7 a.m., between 7 a.m. and 7:30, when the auntie and the grandma, I believe the auntie, once again, we're not sure, but the grandma realized that he wasn't in the house. And that's when they called the police, and a massive search went out for this little boy. Everybody in the area was out looking, because you hear such a young person at that age, you're gonna feel sorry for him, and you're gonna wonder how he even got outside, what really happened. You know what I mean? And I think it was between 10 a.m., around that time, when they found his body in the backyard, in the corner of a backyard, tucked away, just curled up in a corner. And I'm gonna play you guys the video of the man who found the boy. And he's traumatized from this. Because like I said, it was a community search, and they ended up going into one of the backyards where he found the boy lie down, tucked in between the wall and something else. I'm gonna put up the picture up here so you guys can see. But I'm gonna play you guys that video, and I'll be right back.
In garbage cans, stuff like that in behind, or looking in cars that you could see, just if he could climb in a car, if he was warm in a car. And he was just in behind a small deck.
What went through your mind when you saw him?
That he was just peaceful lying there, I guess you'd like to say. You could just see his boots a little bit, and it was just in between two houses, so it wasn't really. He was pretty hard to see once you got around the deck. That's all I want to say about that.
What did you do?
I put my coat on him. I came out and yelled up the street. There's 3 or 4 officers. I think there were 5 or 6 houses, maybe not even that, up the street that had been checking the backyards, and they came running down. They were there, and they were there pretty quick, less than like 2 seconds. There was lots of people who knew, because I didn't know exactly what you should be moving them or touching them or anything like that. Right? That was their job, and I just did my little bit.
This is so hard for you.
Yeah, a lot worse for the family, I'm sure.
What have you thought about over the last couple of days?
Just about the family, about him. It's going to be like me and Bert only maybe saw him for less than 2 minutes, but we'll probably see that picture of him that's been on TV for the next 20 years in our mind. Like, I don't think he'll ever get rid of that.
It was a desperate search. Roughly 100 police officers, plus volunteers from all over the city, all in a race against time and cold.
People were asking you, please, if just to take a minute or two out of your time and search, please.
3-year-old Elijah Marsh was recorded on a security camera, leaving his aunt's apartment building at 4 this morning, wearing only a t-shirt, a diaper, and boots. He had slipped out of bed, out of the apartment, and outside, a door closing behind him. The temperature, close to minus 20 degrees, below minus 30 with the wind chill.
The police response was aggressive and massive from the very early going because, of course, a missing 3-year-old child in this sort of temperature, in this sort of an environment, is something that we treat very, very seriously.
After 6 hours outside, Elijah was found in a backyard nearby. Not breathing, no pulse.
It's heartbreaking, man. I don't want to say anything, but I saw people crying.
It's going.
Still, there was a chance. For there have been astonishing survival stories in this country, young children who have survived extreme cold.
All right, so you guys just seen that. Now, his funeral took place on February 28th of 2015 at St. Matthew Church, somewhere in the West. And there was enough people that came out, hundreds of people came out to this case because this was such a sad story. I remember my mom even watching this and crying when she seen it because at that time, my siblings were around that age, around 2, 3. And she was just imagining if that was to happen to her, you know what I mean? And that's what everybody in the city was doing. Everybody felt so sorry for this lady and for her family.
Those closest to 3-year-old Elijah remembered him. His mother acknowledged the outpouring of support.
I want to thank everyone for coming here to celebrate the life of my baby. He's touched so many, and I'm not surprised, because he touched me like that every single day.
And this message from his 8-year-old brother.
I love you, Elijah. You are the best brother anyone could have. I'm going to miss you so much.
But one person that was catching a little bit of slack in the media was the father. The father, because he had some suspicions, of the whole situation. And not just him, but other people. And I was saving that for the ending. So we're going to get into all those suspicions and stuff now. But one thing that the father was saying was that the grandma wasn't in the room with the boy, that he was in the room sleeping by himself. So you would have to wonder, where was the grandma? Also, he was saying that the mom always had people watching his youth. Now, a lot of people were saying, so why are you coming out now and talking now that your son's dead? This is the first time that a lot of people are hearing of you. Nobody, like even like the people, like immediate people that knew Elijah, that used to watch him all the while, thought that other person was his father. Even the school teachers and stuff I heard, and the daycare teachers never knew that he was the father, that they thought it was the next person. So people were surprised that he was around. And he was saying, why are you always making people watch my child when I'm here fighting in the courts to see my son? You know what I mean? And then he was saying a whole bunch of stuff. So he even said that she lied to the police. I'm going to play you guys this video of him explaining himself, and I'm going to be right back with my thoughts.
Hi, I'm the dad of the recently deceased Elijah Marsh, February the 19th, 2015. Also the dad of his older brother, Mikhail Barry, with Georgette Marsh. Now I'm doing this because the TV interview I gave was edited quite a bit, and to answer some questions as to some of the things that are really going on. It's important to know, since the incident happened, the mother didn't call me or anyone in the Marsh family to say, this is what happened to your son, he died in our care, these are the details and facts, and this is what really happened. All I've seen is discrepancies on the news media on the part of the Marsh family as to what happened. The grandmother gave an interview where she hinted that she might have been there or not there. Fact of the matter is, the grandmother was not there. And the biggest lie that they told it throughout the whole thing is that the mother was at work when it happened. The mother wasn't at work. She dropped off Elijah 4 p.m. the day before to her little sisters, and then she called in sick to work and then told the detectives that she went to a friend's house. So let's get that out of the way. And then, this thing where they say Elijah went through 3 doors is not what happened. I cleared this up. Elijah went through 5 doors. He was sleeping in the grandmother's room by himself. He went through that door, downstairs, the main door, down through a long hallway, one more door to 4 flights of stairs, then out 2 more doors to his death. Now, they tried to surmise that he might have stepped on something to open the latch of the door and go outside, but there was no evidence to say that he constructed anything to stand on and open the latch of the door. When the aunts came downstairs, they met the door was open, right? The door was open. So that's what happened there, and then you go further on to the funeral, and then they had an individual claiming to be the stepfather of Elijah. He's not married to Mrs. Marsh. He doesn't share the last name of her or any of the children in the case. He doesn't have any legal rights to any of the children. How could you be the stepfather to one child and not the other? Right? So they tried to construct everything to make it look like a single mother scenario who's getting a little help because the dad is not there. And that is very contrary. I've been in court since 2011 with Mrs. Marsh, paying her support for both Elijah and his older brother, Mikhail. Since Elijah has been born, she's been telling people that someone else was the dad, while, I've been paying for Elijah, and also he's covered under my benefits. And currently I have legal access to his older brother, Mikhail, 12 days per month, and that is overnight access. It wasn't until January 2015 that I finally got access to Elijah by myself, on part to a lot of deliberations in the court to keep me from the child as long as the mother wanted. And it's quite sad, because when I finally started getting access to Elijah, his 2 older brothers had to say, "Look, this is our dad." And there was times when I went to pick up his brother Mikhail, and Elijah will say, "Hey, Mikhail, here comes your dad," unbeknownst to him at the time that I too was his dad. So these are some of the mental troubles Elijah was going through at that time. And you must understand, it must be known that his older brother Mikhail was with me the morning Elijah died. He was in the safety of my home, sleeping in my bed. And then, why such contrast in the access between Elijah and Mikhail? Well, it's for the reasons that I said. When I went to the viewing, for example, I shook many people's hands. People from Mrs. Marsh's workplace didn't know that I was the dad. They were in shock. And then you look at many people said, "Look, I babysat your son. Sorry for what happened. I babysat your son. Sorry for what happened." It seems that everybody and their grandmother in that neighborhood was babysitting Elijah. In the meantime, the court is being told that he needs to be slowly, transitioned to his dad, as to not to traumatize him, right? So it's quite sad. I'm just happy that Elijah learned who his dad was before he died, and had a good time with me in the short time that I had him, right? In November of 2015, he was supposed to have the exact same schedule as his brother Mikhail. Now, stipulated in the final order, I have a stipulation saying that Mrs. Marsh must contact me anytime she cannot be with the older child, Mikhail, for any obligations. And I had that put in because I've always had concerns about Mrs. Marsh's little sister babysitting my children. They don't deserve that kind of responsibility, at such a young age. And I'm aware that this is a common practice, that often the little sisters are alone watching my children while Mrs. Marsh and the grandmother is not in the house, right? So there's so many scenarios that occurred when there were shootings in the neighborhood where the grandmother lived, And then the next day I would go, and my son is playing on his tricycle outside, which is, would concern any parent. And the fact of the matter is, parents have a biological clock. None of my sons can get up in the night without me knowing. Even if they pee the bed, I get up and I recognize it right away. So the best interest of the child is always with the parents, and that's something that I would like to see change in the court system. When one parent is not with the child, the other parent should get first right of refusal, as my order says.
All right, so you guys just heard that. And now my thoughts on this whole situation is, first I want to know, how did no one wake up if they were in the house? You're in an apartment. It's not like you're in a house with, like, like an actual house where you wouldn't really hear a person leaving out the front door depending on where your room is, but you're in a smaller area. How did you not realize that the youth opened up the door? That's a sound that I'm sure everybody would, and why was the door even unlocked? If you were really in the house, wouldn't the door, and like I said, I'm no way am I saying that she wasn't, because I don't know the story. I don't know their story. I can't judge and say none of that. I'm just going off of the facts of the case and what the father was saying. um how was the door unlocked? Because unless the baby unlocked the door, but I mean, it's a 3-year old, so you have to wonder how much can a 3-year old do. Also, how high can he reach? You know what I mean? I think they have it high enough to where these things can't happen, that a baby can't open up the door. So was the door unlocked? Next thing that came to my mind was, how did he open up the other doors? Remember, they said he has to go through 5 doors. The father said he had to go to the door for the grandmother's room. He had to go to the front door of the apartment or the house or whatever the hell it is. Then he had to go through a couple other doors. Who was opening these doors? Now, we all know with lobby doors, to come out you don't need a key. To come in you do, but to come out you can just, depending on the door, if it's a latch you can pull it, you can push it, you can press the electronic button and it open. But usually there's about 2 doors to come out, because we all know they have that little buzzer area. So there's about 2 doors in the front area that he had to have gone through, and that's where they caught him on surveillance footage, and they caught him opening it. They caught him opening it on the surveillance footage. But I was just wondering how, and there was a theory that came out about that. But my thoughts on the father before I get to those theories is, if he was really trying his best to get a hold, because remember, he had custody or whatever it was with the other son, that's Elijah's bro, and they both have the same mom. And the bro, like you said, the bro was with him even when he died. So if he was really trying his best to try to get his son out of that predicament, because he realized that the mom was too loose or whatever he's claiming for the situation to be, it would suck that this happened to him, but I really don't know. People do stuff like this when people dies. When you hear them, everybody wants to be on the news, everybody wants to have word, and if he was really a deadbeat dad before, you have to remember, the baby was only 3, so that means that they probably had sex and had this youth like 4 years ago. And you have to wonder, how bad did it get in that time? This is why you have to really careful who you have pitney with, because now look, if what you're saying is true, at what cost did this come? You know what I mean? At what cost? So you have to be careful who you have your kids with. But one of the theories that people were saying, that I remember hearing all over the city, was that Duppy was the one that was opening up the doors for this local youth and led him into that area, and the spirit was calling him. Because how, there's only surveillance footage of him coming out of, I think, with just one door. But how do you get through all the other doors? Like the father said there was 5. News reports say there was 3, but the father said there was 5. How did you come out? And then where really did the mom go? Because they said that she called off work, and then they saying that it was a lie because she told the police something else. So I don't know how to really feel the situation, but I do feel like it's very strange. But I don't, somebody lost their child, and we can't be flinging judgment like that. But we can ask some questions, because this is strange. This is very strange. Very, very, very strange. And I just want to say, rest in peace to the little boy. And imagine how his brother feels. I'm not going to call the name of his bro, because he's still out here living, and, he probably doesn't want to always be reminded of this. So I want to know what you guys think about this situation. What do you think about the father? How do you think the baby came out of the house? Where do you think the grandmother was? Where do you think the mom was at fault for this, for always leaving her child around? Or do you think it's not time to blame, like what I believe? There's not time. It's not time for all that blaming. I don't know. The situation is just scary. It's strange. It's awkward. It's all of them in one. But you guys let me know what you think, and we'll talk next time on Talk the Things podcast.